gentlemen.
Yeah, I will
Okay.
too.
All right. Hi, everybody. How we doing? All right. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Reminder that all this is going to be or is being recorded, and we will be posting the video for this as well as for the next couple of boot camps that we have offered. One of them will be on Friday, and the following one will be next week. All of those things, like I said, will be recorded and posted, and we will make those available to you. So if you're not able to attend, then that'll be your opportunity to catch up on those. Also, you can always contact us via email, text, whatever, and we'll do our best to be able to respond to you and get to other questions that may have come up that we're not able to address today. In keeping with that, one thing that I do want to remind you is that some of the questions that may come up for you today, it is possible that those are going to be specifically addressed in one of the future bootcamp sessions that we're going to host. In which case, I will let you know that that's something that I'm going to talk about in one of those other sessions. So if you absolutely positively need those answers prior to those ensuing sessions, or you're not going to be able to make it and don't want to wait for the recordings, then again, just reach out to us via email, text, group me, etc., and we'll get you taken care of. We want to make sure that you feel like you are in as good of a position as you can be coming into this season. So with that in mind, this first boot camp is called Successful Setups. And so the focus for this one is really going to be about what sorts of things are you going to be encountering in this next week if you're going to start practicing this Saturday, or what you'll expect in those first week or two sort of practice settings. What are the things that we think are super important that you have handled and have ready to go? So to start out with that, one of the things that we want to look at is going to be just what happens when you log into VolleyStation. So this is going to be a great reminder for some of you about the stuff that you need to do right away at the beginning of the season. So when you first open a VolleyStation, you're going to get this familiar splash screen, and the top section is about dual coding. And for right now, we're going to skip down past that into these next two sections. I think these are really good reminders about stuff that you're going to want to remember. If you're familiar with VolleyStation, you may just need to remind yourself of where you're, what your fingers need to do on the keyboard, or how to be able to do certain common things. One of the other things that's going to be important here is just moving the database from one user to another. Let's say you got a new computer, or you've had other new staff members join in this season. If you click on this link, it's going to take you to one of our blog posts that gives you a step-by-step about which files you need to copy from an old computer, where to put them on a new computer, and then you can restart VolleyStation, and you should be able to see all of those previous seasons, etc. Recognize that copying databases is not necessarily something that you have to do all the time in order to share information from one computer to another. One very easy thing that you're going to be able to do that we're going to talk about here momentarily is importing and exporting seasons, matches, teams, things like that. But if you want to take from an old computer to a new computer, and you don't want to have to export and import a whole bunch of seasons and things like that, then this is the way to go. Keep in mind that this moving your database, though, is not going to change your settings. These settings will need to be updated on each new computer that you install VolleyStation on. Coming back then to the shortcuts, I think it's really good to just remember what all the shortcuts are. Reminder that there are a whole bunch of tabs that you can have open, and you can open tabs very easily using keyboard shortcuts. I am definitely a keyboard shortcut kind of person. I like being able to use my keyboard where I can and not having to move my mouse around and click all the time. So if I want to just open up a new tab, I can just, if I'm on a Mac, I'm going to hit Command T. If I'm on a Windows computer, I'm going to hit Control T. And that'll open up a new tab, and I can open up new sheets. Or I can change the season that I'm currently looking in, things like that. If I want to close those, Command W closes those tabs, and you can see here how I've got these tabs across the top, 1 through 5, and so I can just say Command 2 to move over, Command 5 to move over to that last one, and that goes all the way from 1 up to 9. You can open a spreadsheet in a new tab or a report or a match by command and click. That should be a fairly common behavior for you if you're used to, like, on your web browser, opening up a link in a new tab on your web browser. It's the same kind of behavior where you're going to hit command click. Great reminder here, we're going to talk a little bit about updating or making new spreadsheets. If you want to be able to build a new spreadsheet off of a whole bunch of stuff on an old spreadsheet, reminder here that you can Command Shift C to copy and Command V then to paste, so that you maintain formulas and aren't just like pasting in data that is calculated from the formulas that you're trying to copy. And so that's a great way to be able to copy formulas, formatting, etc., and put them into a new sheet pretty quickly. Great reminder about where the shortcuts for the video montage screen exist. A reminder that video montage that we're talking about is the video analysis tab here, or if you have them saved in these reports and montages, same thing. So we're talking about using these. So if I'm in here and I'm looking at all home go kills, for instance, like that, and I want to navigate through these, then this is where those keyboard shortcuts are going to be. So that's these keyboard shortcuts right here, the W, E, R, etc. All of these. The match scouting screen, the F is a great shortcut to remember. If I'm in a match and I've selected a play here and I touch F, you can see how the video here is changing and moving to a different point. And so that way, when I click up here and start playing, it's gonna play at that new point. And then reminder that all the other video controls for this are going to be handled in your settings. So in here, all your keyboard shortcuts, this is where you can set up what different keys are going to do different things to control your video. And then shortcuts for the command line. This is when you're in a match coding. I really like these shortcuts to be able to handle substitutions quickly rather than clicking on the cards. Clicking on cards is a good way to get comfortable with how the substitutions flow, but ultimately I think being able to use this code makes things so much faster. One reminder for these substitutions is that VolleyStation isn't going to let you do them unless there is a point immediately prior to that code that you're doing. So for instance, right here, I don't have a point being awarded here. So if I try to do a change like 11 out, 10 in, it's going to give me a warning that an invalid code is trying to be put in. But if I end the rally, whoops, I need to get this stuff out of here first. If I end a rally and I have a point there, now I can say 11 out, 10 in, and that code will go. So just a reminder that timeouts, substitutions, things like that, They generally work the best in the command line if you have just ended a point. Otherwise, you're going to see those errors. Changing who the setter is, you can do that in the command line. I will be talking about this, the I2, or the using the I and the away team I as a shortcut in a little bit. So I'll come back to that in a minute. Again, the P, you can use that instead of clicking on the points as I just did before. You are able to use Shift Enter to be able to input code that normally wouldn't be submitted. That generally works the best when we're just talking about code, about skills, rather than these commands here. Shortcuts for the playlist. I really like this, the command I. This is a great reminder that if I'm right here and I forgot to put in a dig here, I can say command I, and then I can put in away 22 dig minus, and submit that. And now that information is tied to the attack right before it. So it's a really handy way to be able to fix things on the fly when you just know that you missed something and you want to be able to stick that in. Delete, for those of you who are using a Windows machine and you have a dedicated delete key, that's great. If you're on a Mac, a reminder that your key says delete, but it's actually backspace. And so if you want to delete something, then you need to use the function key and then press what on your keyboard says delete. And then the arrow keys and the shift arrows are just good reminders for how you move between plays, between rallies, and then between search plays. Those are some of the really easy settings and reminders about different shortcuts. I'm going to have Luke talk real quick about VolleyStation Online, something that you'll have access to, and we want to do a good job in these coming boot camps of talking to you about how we recommend or ways that we're thinking about integrating your use of VolleyStation Online with your use of VolleyStation Pro. So Luke, hit it for me.
Hey everybody. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind is VolleyStation Online is something we pushed out in April, and you got to think of it like Google Sheets. So it is an interactive working document with your staff. So what we recommend is when someone uploads something to a season, or if they upload a match, everyone on your staff can see it. So our recommendation is when you are engaging with VolleyStation Online, designate one person on your staff to be the master administrator for VolleyStation Online, meaning they are uploading the scout files, they're uploading the videos, and they are kind of managing the administration side of VolleyStation Online. One thing to keep in mind is your settings, so your hotkeys, your keyboard shortcuts, all that stuff, those are specific to you, but your season settings are specific to your staff. So that is why we recommend one person having kind of the overarching responsibility of administrating those accounts. So if you are a tech or you're an assistant coach that's in charge of the video, the VolleyStation Online, you are the only one that's uploading those matches to VolleyStation Online and keeping them clean and managing the seasons, the teams, the matches, etc. When you're managing that offline, it's kind of the individual coach's responsibility, and that is a big change. It's going to make some incredible improvements to your workflow, but you don't want, if I uploaded a match and then Jesse came behind and uploaded another match, and Eduardo came behind and then uploaded the same two matches that we did, there would now be repeats in the same season. So making sure that you're just keeping it really clean and efficient for yourselves.
Hey, and just real quick, VolleyStation Online is new. We haven't been through a season before. There's probably going to be a bug here or there. We understand that, and they're not integrated. They work separately right now. We're working on integrating these things so they may update each other. But just be patient with us. I think you guys can see where we're going with it. Like Luke says, I mean, when we started thinking about this idea, I was like, this is game changing on how coaching staff do their work and will save you a lot of time and open up some possibilities that you never had before. So I hope you guys are excited about it, and you'll see the benefits soon.
Great. All right. So real quick then, just a reminder, as you come into a new season, something that you're probably going to want to do is create a new season. Just a couple of reminders when you're doing that is that you want to make sure that each season has a unique name, but especially that it has a unique code for it. I try to keep those as brief as I can without being so vague that I'm not sure what it is. One thing with the dates, make sure that you have all the dates in which you could possibly play. So for me, when I'm starting a new women's college volleyball season, I'm going to start it before report day, and I'm going to make sure that the end date of that is going to be well after the conclusion of the season. So in this case, I'm going to pick like the end of December when everybody's done playing. Choose the date format and the language support you want. Western European is going to make the most sense to us. What I recommend doing here for the default video directory is create a new folder on your desktop or somewhere where you keep your volleyball stuff, and within that folder have a video or a video folder that's called, like 25 fall practice video, 25 fall video period, something like that. When it comes to the settings here, I recommend using settings from previous season. And I'll show you a couple of the ins and outs of that real quick in just a second. For me, the season that I would want to base my new season off of is going to be what I used last fall. So that, in this case, was CU 2024. So I'm going to save that season. And what you'll see then is the setter calls that I have and the attack combinations that I have. And so since I based it on that season, then these are going to be, as you can see, different than the default that VolleyStation gives you, different than what you would get in VolleyMetrics. And so that's one of the pros of basing a new season on a previous season, is that you get all of these setter calls and attack combinations, and you don't need to redo those if you like customizing those versus just taking what it is that VolleyStation uses as a default. The downside of that is that you will have all of the players and teams from that from those other seasons showing up here. So even though the season is blank, you can see that there's still 3 pages worth of teams in here that I may or may not need. And now I can go through and just start deleting a whole bunch of them, except for like my own roster, things like that. I can select all of these and click delete and get rid of them. The same thing goes because the players are being pulled from those team rosters, and so I'm going to have 31 pages worth of players for a brand new season. But as I delete teams from my roster or from my teams list, then all those players are going to start to disappear from the players lists as well. So it's probably a little bit easier to do that so that you don't have all these other teams and players crowding up your database in a new season. I like to start clean with just my team and then like a generic scout team that I might use for the first weekend. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, though, as far as the seasons go, is that I like to set up 2 or maybe even 3 seasons per full volleyball season. You can see here I have a CU24 practice, and a CU24 scout. I have also put both of these together into one season. And what I'm doing with these 2 seasons is, if we look at the matches, you can see this is all just the matches from my 2024 season with the University of Colorado. And so this is just the 30 matches that we played, and it's all of those scout files. The practice season, on the other hand, is just all of the practice files. And there's no matches in here. A reason to do separate match and practice seasons is if you don't want to worry about running worksheets or running spreadsheets that are a mix of practice data and competition data. If you like to keep those two things separate, then I think keep separate seasons. Another bonus of having a separate practice season is that then I can take my roster and I can tweak that roster so that I can have all the players listed. I can have some of the players listed. One of the things that I like to do is, instead of having all of this information here, is I will just shorten this so that their first name is their jersey number and their last name is their initials. And so I would do things like this. And what that'll do is, if I do this for the entire roster, then when I pull worksheets, it's not their entire name. It's just something much shorter and cleaner that I can look at. And I really like doing that for practice type stuff. So one thing then that comes out of having multiple seasons is then my scout season. This is all just VolleyMetrics matches. And so this ends up having a different roster in it for my team. So like in here, there's if you may have noticed, the other ones I call my own team CU, but in here I've called it CO. And so now this roster is composed of what you're used to seeing from VolleyMetrics, where the code for the player is a dash and a bunch of numbers, rather than what I use, which is 3 letters from their first name, 3 letters from their last name, something like that. And so I like being able to have these separate rosters for my own team. But keep in mind that if you do this, then, and you want to try and mix and match between VolleyMetrics files and your own files, you'll need to make sure that these player codes are the same. Otherwise, VolleyStation is going to think that they're 2 different people and calculate their stats separately. So with that, I want to again pass it over to Luke and have him talk real quick about how then to take, once you've set up a season and teams, rosters, things like that, how you'd be able to take those and pass them into VolleyStation Online from VolleyStation Pro.
Yeah, guys. Kind of like I said, the big theme in VolleyStation Online is that one administrator. So once whoever's in charge of managing your online, your VolleyStation Online, once they have this season set up in VolleyStation Pro, or if they've already had it set up in VolleyStation Pro, then the easy solution is to go ahead and take that season and export it. So let me see if I can very easily steal this presentation from Eduardo here. Okay, so I am in VolleyStation Pro, so I'm offline, and you see this demo season here. And hey, I want to take this demo season because this is the season that I want to translate to VolleyStation Online. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click this square with an arrow, and I'm going to save it to wherever is logical for you guys. And you're going to name it, college season 25. And oh, the path doesn't exist. Select the folder. Here we go. We're just going to do promo video, and I'm going to select that folder. And what it's going to do is it's going to export all of that information that Eduardo was just talking about. And then all you need to do is you need to step into VolleyStation Online and go to your seasons and import the season that you just saved, right? So again, we're just making it easy. I'm going to go and I'm going to find where I saved that folder, and I'm going to import it. And all of the administrative work that you did offline is now online. Super easy. Your whole team can see it. So each change that I make in there, Eduardo and Jesse will see it because they're on my team. Yeah, back to you, Eduardo.
Thanks. And recommend, again, as Luke was saying before, if you have one person whose job it is to manage all of these things and get them set up initially, then I recommend set it up in offline in VolleyStation Pro so that you have it there, then export it and import it into VolleyStation Online. That way you've done all the work to set it up initially, and then you're only really having to click a few buttons in order to make it all appear for you in VolleyStation Online. Now, I want to spend a good chunk of time here talking about spreadsheets, because that's something that definitely feels like it is a really big part of the job that you're doing as the person who's in charge of all the tech, the stats, the video. And so I think the first thing that we want to recognize is going into a new season, you want to check the sheets that you already have. So if you're new walking into a program, there's probably a whole bunch of sheets that already exist. And I recommend talking with the existing coaches on your staff about what they already have and how they like to use it. So that way you're not reinventing the wheel, or you're just able to make some tweaks to what's already there. You're able to export sheets from others that they already have set up and import them onto your own machine, and get busy making your own tweaks. One of the things that I think is really important to talk about when we look at these things is, are you using static sheets or dynamic sheets? When I talk about static versus dynamic, what I'm talking about is what the formulas look like. In the case of this formula right here that you see, you'll see that it's using DS player name, and then it is referencing a different cell, in this case A8, to tell me which player name it should pull from. And if I go over to cell A8, you can see that what it's doing here is it's saying if there is a player listed as an outside on the roster, find the first one that is listed. So if I go here to my roster, it's going to find the first outside hitter, Sydney Jordan, who's number 10, right? If I were to make Emma Torstensen an outside hitter and save that, and then I can close the sheet and open it back up again. Now Emma Torstensen shows up as my first outside hitter rather than Sydney Jordan. So this is what I mean by being dynamic. This sheet is going to have information. Sorry about that. This sheet's going to have information on it that is dynamically being generated rather than being static, where I just take this particular cell and just put a player's name in it directly. There are pluses and minuses to move to going each way. One thing though is if you're using dynamic sheets, you're including these cell references. Then if those cell references are based on rosters, then it's as simple as updating your roster every year to make these sheets function the way that they should be functioning. And then it's a lot less like in going through these sheets then and fixing each particular cell or doing a lot of finding and replacing in worksheets. Because again, the more cells you got to fix, the more chances there are that you're introducing error. Now, one thing that I want to point out is when you're using dynamic sheets, something that you'll see a lot in sheets that we have created from VolleyStation and make available to you. You'll see something that like this here, where you'll see that there's the $ there. What that represents is that's going to be looking at. Hold on a second, and I'm going to show you how Excel refers to that. They talk about relative references versus absolute references. You'll notice that $ that's in there is going to anchor particular references, and this can be a handy thing if you're going to be doing a lot of copying and pasting of particular information, but you want to make sure that the cell reference does not change. And so I recommend looking for, like go search Google for how to use $ in Excel. In this case, this reference that I have is coming directly from Microsoft's support page. And a relative reference doesn't have any $ in it. And what that means is if I copy a cell that references a cell that is immediately to its right, and then I paste that one cell below it, then it's Excel and VolleyStation are going to assume that I want to reference the cell immediately to the right again. An absolute reference says that no matter where I paste this information, I want you to reference the exact same row or column or both each time. And so that's where the $ come in. So now let me go back to VolleyStation. And so you'll see here, there's the $ before the A. And so that means that it's going to, if I were to copy this cell and paste it somewhere else, which I'll do. You'll see now how that paste, this went from $A8 to $A5. And so that it kept the A the same, but it changed it from A8 to A5 to represent this relative relationship over here. And so if I change this and I say $A, $8, and now I copy this and paste it, you'll see now this reference stays the same. It continues to reference the exact same cell. This is what an absolute cell reference means, is that no matter where I copy and paste, I'm referring to the same place on the spreadsheet all the time. And so as you're updating sheets, I recommend that you pay attention to how $ are being used. Sometimes they're being used because they need to always refer to the same column and the exact same place in this column all the time. So those $ are there for a reason, and I recommend that you pay attention to how those things are being used. So moving on, are there new sheets that you need to create? Chances are that if you have new sheets that you need to create, they already exist somewhere. And this is where, like, the nerd group me that many of you are in, if you're not in there, please let me know and I will make sure that you get added, or ask your friends why they haven't already added you in there. It's a great place to ask questions about, does somebody have a sheet that does X? I know I speak for Jesse when I say this. We are huge fans of share everything all the time. The magic in my program is not in the spreadsheets that I make. It's in the players, it's in the training, it's in how we compete. It's not in the spreadsheet. And so from that standpoint, I feel like I'm going to share any spreadsheet that I've made because I want to save the work. I want to allow you to go do the fun, cool things. I want you to go do the analysis and not the making a spreadsheet. The analysis is the cool part, not the making the spreadsheet. You have other things to do with your life that are way better than making spreadsheets.
Just to echo that, guys, I mean, Eduardo and I have probably spent, I don't know, hundreds of hours building spreadsheets over the years, maybe thousands, and it's not fun. But just do not spend 2 hours making something that we already have. Just reach out either to Eduardo directly or into the group me, and we can get you a sheet. Somebody has what you want, or some version that you can copy and paste and like take a few cells out or combine a couple of spreadsheets. Stop wasting your time. Let's get on with it and just make volleyball better by doing the things that matter.
And also a reminder that we already have a ton of spreadsheets that we make available to you. We have them hosted on Google Drive. Those are in the welcome email that you get when you set up a new account. If you don't have access to that, or you don't have that link anywhere, let us know and we can get that sent to you. And you can go look at a whole bunch of different spreadsheets. I'm going to talk about this particular spreadsheet when I'm talking about early season practices, just because this is a great example. I feel like anybody who's done this kind of job for any amount of time has inherited some version of a sheet that looks like this. I have at least 2 different versions of this that I found at different programs that I went to, and it was basically all the same columns, but it was just like colored differently for the different school colors that we had. Um, but I like this sheet for early in practices or early in the practice season because it's just very individually based. There isn't a lot of team-based stuff on here. Like there's no side out efficiency, there's no first ball efficiency. It's just how is this particular outside doing in when they're attacking, when they're blocking, when they're serving. How are different players doing when they're serving, when they're passing, when they're digging. I really like this information because early on in the season, generally, those are the times when we're just coding tons and tons of things, and we're not necessarily playing a lot of straight 6-on-6. If we are doing 6-on-6, it's a lot of modified things where like there aren't necessarily clear side outs and things like that. So a lot of that information might like side out efficiency is kind of meaningless at that point in the season. We will talk about more specific team related stuff in spreadsheets. That's going to come up more. We're gonna talk about that more in the second boot camp when we start talking about practices and decision making within your own team. So when we're taking these sheets, one thing that's important to recognize is that sample size is going to be small initially, and so this is why it's good. Like, I don't really like talking too much about stats until we've got several sessions to look at. In the past, when I've been working with coaches, I mean, it might be a week before I'm really comfortable saying like, okay, here's a bunch of data for you all to look at, just because the raw numbers tell me something, but the efficiencies, the percentages can swing pretty large amounts if I only add one more practice in. And so after maybe like a week's worth of practice, then I've got enough data where things are going to start to mellow out and not necessarily move as much. Now, when we're coding in practice, I think I come from a standpoint of like, I want to code as normally as possible all the time. And when I say coding normally, what I'm talking about is as much like a match as possible. And so that means that I'm coding a home side and an away side, and I'm dot coding serves and receptions, attacking and digging, or attacking and blocking. There may be cases where it doesn't make sense to do that. There are times when maybe you're just coding serve and pass, or you're just coding. You only want to code receptions because you have practice players or coaches initiating balls, but you want that stuff to go down as receptions. And so maybe you're not going to code serve, you're just going to code receptions. Again, these sheets are really great at being able to handle stuff like that. So how do I keep track of sheets like this? You'll notice that I have up here in the name of this sheet, this PRA underscore. This is just a way that I have of being able to find this sheet quickly. So when I'm looking at all my spreadsheets, I can search for them. I just start typing that. And here's just a couple of sheets that I've set aside that I think are important to look at during, like in practice. And so I put that in there in the title, so it makes it easy for me to find it in practice or immediately after practice. Now, how am I going to make these sheets then so that they're collecting data? So if I'm coding home and away, but it's number 10 is number 10, whether she's on the home side or the away side. So how am I coding this? What I want you to notice here is that there's no star in this equation. It's just attack. This is one way of doing it. So notice that right now there's 40 kills here. If I were to change this, well, actually, that's not a great example. Hold on, let me change this because it's pulling from a match. So let me change it to a practice season. And I'm going to pull just from these 3 practices. All right. So now she's got 8 kills. She's got 18 attempts. Let me change this real quick, and I'm going to put a star for the home team in here. Whoops, doesn't like that anymore. But if I take that back out, it's going to count it just fine. Let me do this, and I'm going to change this and make this a version that doesn't use VSL anymore. And I'm just going to say, I'm going to count all of home 10 A-pound, so kills. He's got 8 of those. That means that if I change this to away, there's going to be 2, right? And then if I just make this just number 10, that's the sum of 8 and 2, right? So this is a great way to be able to get both sides very quickly and easily in your spreadsheets. I will say that there are other ways to do this. One thing that I've seen is just adding home and away together. So I could take this VS count, and I can add a VS or, and I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to change these so that it's home and away. And that's going to give me the same result, because that or it's saying, I want you to count all of away number 10's kills as well as home number 10 kills. Same effect, just more code. One other thing that you can do that that Jesse has talked about that he likes to do is you'll notice here in this match code, with the exception of this one line here that I entered a little bit ago, all of these things, all these codes are home. And the way that I was able to do that is using the search. I can create a search rule and say, take all the home and replace it with away. And I'm going to save that as a new rule. And I'm going to call it away to home. Create that rule. And now I've got that rule as something that I can use to search code later. I'll come back to searching through code shortly here when I talk about fixing stuff in practice. But if I apply this rule now, you'll notice, whoops, I did it backwards. Anyway, I changed everything from home to away. Let me go back to my searches. And now I can take that away to home. And I can actually do it the way I said I was going to do it, make everything away as home. And now everything changes from away to home. So this is a really easy way then to be able to take, let's say you coded everything as home and away, but you have a sheet that is built by just looking at the home team. You can very easily change all your code so that worksheet that just uses all the home team counts still functions. And you can do that just by changing your code. So those are some ways that we can handle things from both sides of the net being coded home and away in your worksheets.
And just
Sorry,
a
Jesse,
real quick pro tip at the beginning of the season, when there's a couple teams you're playing that don't have their jerseys delivered early and they're playing with a random number, and you get that code from Volumetrics and you want to stay consistent, you can use the same concept here of the find and replace in the code. And so that they're like, number 87 and their real roster number is like 16. And so you just find and replace the 87. And, if you have you're going to the third weekend, they're wearing 87 the first weekend and 16 the second weekend because of the jersey issues. It's a great way to quickly fix files in that particular situation, which happens almost every preseason.
Yep. Yeah. So I want to show one other sheet that I think is something potentially useful, something that VolleyStation has created. that it can be cool to be looking at during practices. So again, some of this is going to depend on what your staff looks for, or if they look at anything during practice. I like this sheet because it's a really simple look at what's happening during practice. So if some coach wants to ask you something about, hey, what is our attacking looking like by player? This is nice because, again, simple counts here, but also some graphs, which to me make the data much more quickly absorbed by people looking at it. They don't have to just look at numbers and then try and remember what all those numbers are necessarily meaning. But again, just to reiterate, early in the season, when we're just accumulating data, we're not necessarily doing a lot of 6-on-6 organized play, or this is a time when we're not really ready to make, where we're not sitting down and making some decisions about rosters, then simple counts are really great stuff to be looking at. Points and errors, that's that USA stat sheet that I showed you before. And then something that's great to be able to do then after practice is be able to export this. This is something, though, that we'll talk about. Again, just a reminder is that I can have this spreadsheet living in VolleyStation Online as well as VolleyStation Pro, so that I don't even have to export this to Excel. I can just make sure that this spreadsheet exists in VolleyStation Online, and then coaches can go in their offices on their own computers, go find this spreadsheet, open it up, and have this data for themselves. And that way, less email, less sharing files, less printing, stuff like that. So remember that you can export things to Excel, especially if you're going to take this stuff and like embed it into like a larger presentation, like a scouting report, something that, again, we'll talk about in future boot camps. But those are that ability to export into Excel is available to you. And it's real simple. You just do this, you pick a folder, pick a name, and you can see that it's going to export it as an Excel spreadsheet. And you're going to have all this lovely information available in a format that is usable by someone outside of VolleyStation. Now, one of the great things about having spreadsheets available in VolleyStation Pro as well as VolleyStation Online is that then in online, people can create their own copies of worksheets. I'm just going to do it here in VolleyStation Pro, but it's possible to do it in VolleyStation Online the same way. I can export a sheet and then import it again, so I would have an additional copy of it. And then I can just go change the name of it in here. Something that I would recommend is if coaches want to make their own custom versions of a sheet, have them rename it using their initials at the beginning. So for me, I'm going to use EF. And so now, oops, got to click this save button. Now, when I go search for EF sheet, I can find this EF sheet that then I can go make things special for me. Maybe maybe I don't want to see this player in this sheet, so I can take this out of here. Something like that. I can customize this sheet for my own use. Things like that. And then I have my own version of this sheet that doesn't touch the original practice version, but gives me something that is more unique and appropriate or useful for me specifically. So real quick, I want to take a second to let Jesse and Luke jump in with comments about some of these sheets and things that we've said, and maybe take some questions if we've got any that have cropped up so far.
Go ahead, Luke.
I don't got much. Edward is thorough.
Yeah, I would just say, listen, the spreadsheets are rabbit holes. Like, there's so many different things you can do, and they're very powerful. And so I think it's a coaching hack to be good at these spreadsheets and understand like where you can get numbers, but more importantly, using them to get to dashboards on videos. And so you just get the combination of numbers, diagrams, and video. I like to call it the holy trinity of scouting. And if you have those three things and they're all telling you the same thing, then that's good. Then you can go make decisions on it. So being able to whiz around these things and understand the power of them, it truly will just change the way you coach and make you a more thorough coacher. So coacher. That's a strength coach's name.
If they're
coacher.
players, aren't we coachers?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. And I know I didn't go into a whole lot of detail about actually writing formulas. There is a video that we have from, or actually several different videos that you can go back and look at that we can share with you that go into more detail about writing formulas. If you're coming at this more from a standpoint of building formulas from scratch and you don't have a whole lot of experience doing so, then I think those videos are very much worth watching. So much so that I didn't want to really spend a bunch of time talking about just that today. But if I don't have any questions just now, I want to dive into just some kind of daily workflow, some stuff that that you likely encounter every day, especially early in the season, and things that that you can set up both inside of VolleyStation and outside of VolleyStation to help you manage the crush of 2, maybe 3 practices a day, things like that. How you can just kind of shave some minutes off of your life to be able to use those minutes somewhere else, somewhere a little bit better served for your time. So let's hold on a second. I do have a question coming from somewhere else. If downloading a DVW from VolleyStation Online, does it matter where the video is uploaded from? Meaning we have a video server. If I uploaded the video from there and then download the DVW, will the video and the DVW automatically stay connected, or does the video path change? Currently, you're going to have to reestablish that connection between the video and the file, the scout file, mostly because the path for the video in VolleyStation Online is very much a different relationship, because each video is related with a single match, whereas on your own computer and in VolleyStation Pro, you can have the same video being used by multiple match files. And so we're going to be breaking those associations if you pull stuff down from VolleyStation Online and then import it into Pro. So I believe, Joe, that should answer your question. If I fumbled that up, or if I wasn't, if that's not what you were getting at, let me know. Other than that, getting into like pre-practice kind of routines. One thing that I like to have people thinking about is, how far in advance do you know the day's practice plan? That I say that just because you can start preparing for what the day's practice is going to bring. I was always able to look at what our day's practice plan was going to be, at least an hour or two ahead of the practice. And so what that allowed me to do was take a look at what is going to happen at practice today that I need to code. What's going to happen at practice that just needs raw video? If I'm going to be coding things, am I going to be able to code everything in the same match file, or will I use multiple files? When I talk about multiple files, what I'm talking about is a habit that I had that may or may not be useful for other folks. Is if I go back to my seasons, and I have my practice season here, and I look at the matches in this, I've used some notes here to get at the things that I'm talking about here. So one thing that I like to look at, or that I like to have, is a practice template. This practice template that I have, I just have this sitting around, and I will make a copy of this every single day. So what I would do is I would export this, and I might name it something else, like today's date. And so I'm going to export that into this folder, and then I'm going to import it right back in again. And that's going to show up looking exactly the same, but then I can edit this match, and I can change the date on it, and I can bring it back to today. We'll just say it's the morning practice. And then down here in the comment section, I can change that from practice template to 25/07/29 practice. Like, this is just my personal nomenclature. You can use whatever it is that you'd like, but what I recommend here is in the comment line, if you're explicit about what this is, then it makes it really easy then to figure out which file you want to go back and look at later, or which ones you're going to choose later when you're analyzing from several practices, or you're pulling data from multiple spreadsheets. Being able to see these notes is going to make it easier for you to recognize which practices you want to draw from. So it isn't just CU versus CU, and I've got to figure it out based on the date and the time that it shows up. And so I will use potentially different names for different things that happen within the same practice. So right here, you'll see this November 26 rotations and November 26 practice no code. What this represents to me is if I go look at this match, if I look at the code, I'm coding like it's regular 6-on-6 because that's what it was. But ultimately, what this practice was, it was a scout practice. And so the away side was doing scout things for the team that we were going to play. And so I don't really want to have all this stuff included in our regular practice stats that we analyze for how players are doing, because they're doing something different than they would normally do. We're forcing them to run different plays or hit different sets, or people are playing in different positions, things like that. But all of this code exists so that I can sync a practice video file to it, and players and coaches can go watch all that video and get everything they want to out of this from a video analysis standpoint. So if I did have a video file associated with this, we could go to show and we could go search for a different video, or I could search for different players' attacks or digs and things like that, and they would still be able to see all this. But by using this this clarifying comment, I know that I don't want to analyze this code in spreadsheets. The rotations, on the other hand, this is the same file that I took and just cleaned up. And what I did here was I just searched for all the code that wasn't a serve or a reception, and I deleted it. And so all this file is just serves and receptions, because these are things that I don't mind statting. And so those are just examples of things that ways that you can use your code that might not be worth statting or including in your statistical analysis, but you can still use it for video analysis. But you can make clear which category it falls into. So like a practice file, this is just everything all over. This is files that has all the code I want, and it's got video synced to it. And so I'm going to use this for both video analysis as well as for statistical analysis. So again, really what I'm just I'm giving the idea here that that you don't have to necessarily make one practice file fit all of your needs for a given practice. You can either have multiple files for the same practice. So another thing that I didn't highlight here is I might have a file that has a comment that says practice no stats instead of no code. Something like that, that tells me a little bit more about how I want to be able to use it. Now, keep in mind that if you do this, it can create more work for you uploading into VolleyMetrics. So if I've got multiple scout files for a particular practice, and I don't have one practice file, one video that syncs everything all the way through, then that means that I'm going to have 2 practice files on the same day in VolleyMetrics. Personally, I'm okay with that. And the players and coaches in programs that I've worked for have understood that there would be multiple practice files potentially for them to go look at for a given day. Now, with those comments, again, you don't have to use the same way I do of naming it. Whatever makes the most sense for you. But I recommend that you pick something and then you're consistent in your application of that throughout everything that you do. Every practice that you have, every match that you have, that you stay consistent in that, because it's going to make it a lot easier for you to keep everything organized.
Just real quick, Eduardo. I totally agree with the consistency stuff. I also, if you guys see where Eduardo is, the date that he's using, 24/11/26, obviously that's year, month, and then day. It makes sorting things a lot easier. It makes like searching for things a lot easier. I highly recommend that. And then if you're in the preseason and we're starting to do a morning and an afternoon practice or something like that, I highly recommend putting morning or afternoon in all the files that you're doing. Always, like any video file, any scout file, any scouting like PDF, I always put like the date plus the opponent if it's in there. And then you can just search by those things across platforms. It ends up being a lot, particularly if you start over seasons. And it's kind of a pain to like make these long file names, but it's worth it at the end. Particularly if things get a little wonky on you, and if you're going back and forth between VolleyStation Pro and online. So just take your time and figure out a system that works. But it's well worth it to do it that way.
Yeah. So for me, I would put things like who, when, who, and what, and then where. I think that's a pretty solid way of thinking about like the things that you want to include. That's going to give you all the information you need to recognize just by looking at that comment what you're going to have. And so, like if dealing with multiple practices, here's a couple of ideas. You could say like 24/11/25-1 or 24/11/25 AM, something like that. Those are things that you could are ideas you might want to try. Now, getting into actually functioning during practice. One thing that you might want to think about, or that you might be doing, is are you going to use VolleyStation Streamer while you're practicing? And so real quick, just a refresher on how you use this. You might have a camera connected to a laptop, have a separate laptop set up that you have a camcorder connected to, or maybe you want to pull in one of your VolleyMetrics cameras and you can plug in an IP address here instead. For right now, just for the demonstration, I don't want to do that. I want to stick with the local device. My FaceTime camera, just because why not see me in multiple places. Now, the select location, what you're doing here is you are selecting a place to save this stream. So at the end of this, not only are you going to have the stream coming into VolleyStation Pro, but you're also going to save an MP4 file, which you will then be able to take and sync into your VolleyStation Pro match file later. Emily, you said, how do you get Streamer? It is available for download. We have links to it. If you need a link to that, again, it should be in the welcome email you get. We can send that to you if you don't have that available to you somewhere, and it is available across platforms. So I'm going to save this as my location for that stream. I'll click Start Streaming. start streaming, excuse me, not screaming. Please don't scream. And then to be able to connect this, you'll see that I have this URL here. If I right click on that, it's going to highlight the whole thing. I'm going to copy it and I'm going to start this stream. It's going to take a second to figure it out. Oh, there is that video. And here's me on the stream. Hi, everybody. And now I go back to VolleyStation Pro. And I'm going to go into that season that I made. I'm going to import that practice template that I created before. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to add a live stream. I'm going to paste in that live stream, hit play, and look, there I am again. And you'll notice that it's going to by default give me a slight delay on this, which is helpful. It gives you the opportunity to kind of catch up. Like if you're coding what's happening by staring out at the court, and then you want to make sure that what you just saw on the court actually is what happened, then you can turn and look at the stream. Before you do anything else within VolleyStation Pro for a practice, like before you connect any iPads or any other external devices, like for dual coding, anything like that, connect the stream first. Because otherwise that stream isn't going to be connected to all those other devices, and you're going to end up creating more work for yourself. I'm going to stop this stream just so I can stop looking at myself in multiple places. But that is how you set up Streamer.
Yeah, real quick, just make sure you have to have the two computers on the same network, and they need to be on that network before you open up the applications, right? So put it on the network, then open up Streamer and VolleyStation Pro. If you open them up and then change the Streamer, it causes some issues. Or change the network, sorry.
Yep, thank you for that. So then going back to practice. So once I have that practice session open, and again, why I recommend the practice template, having that set up ahead of time, is that generally if you create a new match, you have to enter starting lineups before you can start coding. And so all I've done is my practice template has nothing in it other than the generic information, the date, the time. I don't even really need the time. I don't care. But it's got the date of that practice. It's got my team on both sides, and it's got lineups on both sides. And I just set the same lineup on both sides. It's fine. It doesn't matter, whatever. But what that allows me to do then is if I know the practice schedule ahead of time, then I can create different versions of these templates that I need for whatever things I need to code that day in practice, save them with the comment, and then as I need them, I can just open them up in VolleyStation and immediately start coding. Then I'm all set, and I can just start coding things like that. I'm ready to go. I can go from shagging balls to starting to code within like 30 seconds, which is very handy if your coaches aren't great at sticking to a really tight time schedule, or if they suddenly decide to skip over things on you, things like that. I recommend having something like this so that you can get into coding immediately and stay on top of what's happening. A reminder that you can code practice in VolleyStation Online, or you can code it in VolleyStation Pro. The advantage of putting it in VolleyStation Online is that then you only need to upload the video and sync it there. Or if you're using VolleyStation Pro, let's say you're practicing somewhere where you're not necessarily able to maintain a consistent internet connection, or because of different firewalls on your campus, it's more difficult for you to be able to get these applications to work in a web browser the way you expect them to. Then you code in Pro, you sync the video afterwards in Pro, and then you upload the video and the scout file into online afterwards, and then your coaches are going to be able to look at it. If you're coding things in VolleyStation Online, you can always download that video and the scout file to your local machine later and import them in. And that'll allow you to do things like, let's say you want your coaches to have access to video immediately after practice. That way, like they're going to have players coming up to their offices for meetings, things like that. And you want them to be able to see video immediately. Then having the video and the match file already available in VolleyStation Online is a really quick and easy way of doing that. So that way, all you got to do is sync that video in VolleyStation Online, and then you can close your laptop, pack it up, go back to wherever it is where there is a couch that you can sit on and relax and have a Coke and a smile. And then you can download that scout file and you can edit it on your own local machine and then upload a cleaned version, an updated version. Maybe you need to add directions to it, or you need to put in some stuff that you missed, whatever. You can add all those things in. Instead of me using this, let me go back to something that actually has some code in it that we can look at. So let's say that I have matches like this where, oh, I have a serve, but I don't have a reception. Oh, I can use Command I after watching the video, and I can insert away 12, receive that ball, and then okay, I need to draw lines on it, and so she served from like zone 9 to zone 5. Cool. I can do all of that, and then I can take that file and I can upload it back. I can upload it into VolleyStation Online. Currently, the way VolleyStation Online is working is that would be an additional scout file. And so what we've talked about doing internally until we provide the functionality to allow you to overwrite the same practice slot, is we've thought about being able to work around this and keep things clean by having an additional season in VolleyStation Online that just has clean scout files in it. And so coaches can go look in that clean season after you like message them and say, I've updated the scout file and uploaded, it's there for you to now see. And that would be a great place to have stuff that you're going to go look at, or that they're going to go look at for statistical analysis, things like that. So one last thing I want to talk about here is cleaning code. Reminder here that there is an error list that you can use, a really good generic way of finding errors. One thing that you will find when you start using this error list is that there are going to be things that you're like, I don't think that's an error, but VolleyStation is. The best way to manage that is in your settings, coming down here into the match flow. If it's telling you that there's an unexpected play that follows something that already happened. So like, for instance, depending on how you use your attack codes, like, or better, here's a clear example for me is in block codes, I use B/ to represent the ball being hit past a blocker without it touching the block. So that means that there are things that can follow that would be like a dig or a set, typically only digs, but I would allow for really weird situations where these things could happen. Let's say I see something in that error list that there's a B/ and there's a dig that follows it, and VolleyStation is telling me that dig is unexpected, that is an error. You can fix that here in your match flow. So a reminder about how to use that match flow to say what should follow the play that precedes it. That's a good way to clean up some of those errors that you might see as you're cleaning code. Another thing to do is search and replace, as I showed before about like, hey, you know what? Something that I will tend to do sometimes when I am coding is that I will accidentally code 0 when I mean to code 9, just because those two keys are close together. And so if I go search for home 0, right? In this case, there aren't any examples where I made that error. These were all intentional. But if that's something that I know that I do, a mistake that I know that I make, then I can use the search function to go look for those and say, okay, should this have been a 9? And if it should have been a 9, then I can just double click, fix that. I could use the search and replace, but search and replace assumes that every single instance that you had meets that criteria, and it's just going to fix it without necessarily checking it. So if you're cleaning your code, I recommend just searching rather than search and replace, so you can find things that you might commonly make errors for. One last way that I like to use, or one last thing that I will do to find mistakes, is I have a worksheet that I call QA steps, and this is just built. This just has some of the things that I want to go back and add into my match code afterwards. And so this gives me the opportunity I can be very generic, I can be very specific. So for instance, block touches here. What I'm looking for is plays that have a dig, and in the extended code, say that it is a dig after a block, and that there is not a block that is the play immediately preceding it. So this is the opportunity for me. One thing that I do in my code is in match, I generally just code attacks and digs, but I will specify that a blocker touched the ball by coding something that looks like this. I might say 10pg.22 dig comma b, and so that comma gets me into the extended code, and that b then means that the ball was dug after a block. And so then that is code that I can then search for to say, oh, I need to add the block touch in between those two. And so what I can do then is, if I have a sheet that's a spreadsheet that's set up to keep track of these errors and show them to me, I can just right click and say show on video. And then this isn't going to sync well because the video isn't there for all these matches, but it's going to show me all the instances that I have. And then I can say open match, and I can go in here and I can insert the play where I need it, like that. So that's another way that you can go back and clean code afterwards based on errors that you know you make. That to me is a more efficient way of cleaning code rather than just going through everything line by line. One last recommendation that I will make as far as cleaning code goes is, rather than going line by line, I like to look for things in batches. And so I'll search for all attacks. I'll search for maybe I'll start with all home attacks, and then all away attacks, or just look for all attacks. And then, or maybe I want to be more specific. Maybe like, I want to make sure that everything that I coded as a PG is actually a PG. And so I can go home PG, and then I can just start skating through all the video this way. And this to me is a more efficient way of cleaning my code than just going line by line by line, is doing it by batch, by skill. One last thing that I want to remind you about, since I mentioned before about being able to sync video and then close your laptop and go sit on your couch and then go clean things, just a reminder on how to sync video. I can go here to this sync place here, and I can go find the very first play. you can see here that it's not actually a serve because I was just randomly inserting code. But let's say I'm going to go to this play here. This is going to represent the time in the video that you can see here. Whoops, sorry. I can go here, press the play. It's going to bring me to 212. That doesn't even look like a serve. Okay. Then let's find the serve. Here it is. So now to mark just this play, I would click mark play time. If I do that, what you're going to see here is you're going to notice that this is going to change. And now it goes to 208 and everything else after it adjusts according to that. Now, if I want to mark everything based on this play, then what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click mark next plays. If I do that, then it's going to change everything all the way down. Okay. So just a reminder about how you use mark next plays and mark play in order to sync your video. And again, if you're a new coder just starting out, man, I tell you, this is how you make yourself useful immediately. Getting good at coding serves when the serves actually happen. That will allow your coaches to just be able to go search video for all the serves and then watch video quickly and easily by just looking at just rallies and not having to fast forward and rewind to find the next rally. So get good at coding serving and then receiving. And again, the next thing then is with ending rallies. And that makes you instantly useful to coaches because it will allow you to sync video, which will then allow coaches to watch video. And that is, to me, the first step for new coders in getting themselves to be useful to their staffs. And just one last reminder about that, about being useful and learning how to code, is that there is a video that's going to talk about just the basics of learning to code. You can also contact me, and we can set up time to work with new coders, etc. Get you exposed to other resources that might be able to help you out for that. But that's the information that I wanted to cover in this first boot camp to get you ready for everything that's about to happen when the fire hydrant gets opened up the day after report day. So I want to give Luke and Jesse an opportunity to make some comments about stuff there, and then we'll take any questions that you might have before we sign off.
Yeah, just real quick on like correcting a file, and if you guys need this, I'll try to figure out a way to get this to people, but you can email us about this correcting check spreadsheet. I basically built a spreadsheet, and it's not pretty by any means, but it's got basically home and away numbers 1 through 100 or 99, and then every skill. And so I would just look at that and be like, okay, well, we have a number 12 on our team. Great, she's got data, but we don't have a 13 on our team. And so I would just say, okay, if I have attacks by 13 and I saw a number there, oh, you have it. Oh, perfect. So here it is. And this has some conditional formatting based off my team's numbers in here. And I think it's just great to just be able to go down and quickly check what you may have missed. And you'll find if you're coding a lot, you'll make the same mistake a lot, like 15 and 16. I used to mess up quite a bit. Things like that. This is an easy way to get there after a practice or after a match.
And again, that sheet is one of the ones that is available in our treasure trove of worksheets. Again, reach out to us if you've got if you need access to that, or if you want to go dig through and see what kind of worksheets there are there, in case you're in the process of making some new sheets for this season. A reminder: Jesse put the links for VolleyStation Streamer in the chat. Anybody else got questions that they would like to Oh, Frank, hit me. What do you got?
Eduardo, so I work for the Cal Poly women's team in the Big West.
Mhm.
And I heard from somewhere that Volley Streamer isn't allowed in game. But I wanted to confirm with you guys to see, is that true that you're not allowed to use that during like regulation games and stuff like that?
That is correct. The NCAA allows data to be passed from anywhere to the bench. The NCAA, or I should specify, NCAA women, this is true. The NCAA women's game only allows data to be passed to the bench from anywhere else. You cannot pass video to the bench. You can't even use any video, period. Like if you had an iPad that had like a video library of like, like how your opponent makes blocking moves or what they look like, what the setter looks like, you can't even, technically speaking, you're not even allowed to show players that existing video on like a computer or something during play. They will, technically, you're not allowed to do that. So no, you cannot use VolleyStation streamer to stream that video to your bench. In the men's game, you can. Maybe at some point we will start allowing it, but at present, NCAA women's game does not allow that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. Other questions?
I would say if you use streamer on practice is really nice because if you miss something, it's a little delayed and you can go back and you're simply, it allows you to clean while you're at practice. So then when you're done with practice, if you don't have as much cleaning time, if you can get good at tagging and have that clean as soon as you're done, it makes your life a lot easier when you go home.
Just another thing on the streamer. I coached at Ohio State with the men for a while, and we used the streamer to the bench because we were allowed to in the men's game. And one of the things that we would do is when you look at the match on an iPad and you're looking at the video, you can actually categorize each play based off of a color. So like I would have somebody, usually a player I knew wasn't going to play or a manager or somebody, going through and being like, hey, every time, and you can do this from defense or offense, but every time the left side swings, I'm going to code it. I'm just going to tag it as brown. And every time the middle, it's green. And so there's some cool ways that you could use that in practice to quickly pull up maybe a terminating swing from each position, if that makes sense. So there's some really cool ways that you can play with it. And I would encourage you guys to experiment around with it.
Great. And Emma, I hope you saw Jesse answered your question in the text, but I'll say it out loud for anybody else who might have been thinking it. We did say that these videos will be posted. We will post them into a Google Drive folder and we will send out links, Jesse said, once we have that. Emily, what's your question? Emily Garrett, where'd you go?
She's got her hand up.
It would be really embarrassing if you were talking while you were muted. It's not working. All right. Well, if you want to go ahead and type it in, perfect. Great. Anybody else have a question while Emily's typing?
And just while Emily's typing, guys, we're trying to make a concerted effort to provide some more training. That's one of the main reasons we hired Eduardo. So if you have other things that you need, feel free to reach out to him and or just like, hey guys, it would be cool if you did a blog post on this, or I'm really struggling with this thing. All that feedback helps us. We want to make this a software that you use all the components of if you want to, and you know that they exist and they're easy to use, and then hopefully helping your team. And so let us know how we can help.
Another thing I'll add, sorry, Tim, is the one thing when I was learning this program is like make some messy seasons, or make some, like I call them dumpster fire seasons, and just like play around, because you can save a file on your desktop or on a hard drive somewhere, upload it to a season, and just completely torch it. And you can always upload the old version of that file into a new season and fix it there. So experiment, press the button. It's not going to self-destruct on you, but it's a great way to learn by just experimenting with the program.
Yeah, and to build on that, same goes with worksheets. I highly encourage you to make copies of worksheets, especially if you're new to making formulas or you're less comfortable with it. Or if you're in a new place and you're trying to learn the stuff that they've already had in place, make a copy of a sheet, look at the formulas, break them apart, try and make them do something different, and see how that works. It's another great technique I like. All right, Emily, multiple courts during practice. Okay, you don't need to use two different files. You can code in the same file. The thing that I think makes the difference here is the video that if you're attaching video to it. If you have two different courts and you're coding two different things and there's video for each court, you can do two things. You can code it all in one file and then sync the video to one copy of that file, like the video from court 1 to one copy of that file, and then sync the video for court 2 to the other copy of that file. You can create two versions in VolleyStation Online, or you can have a separate scout file for each one. Or as you mentioned there, you can code it all in one place and then make two copies of it and delete code from one to the other. There's a lot of different ways of getting at that. I would try to think through it a little bit ahead of time and think through what's happening in each place and how can I most efficiently manage it. So again, if there's video of both things, then I'm probably going to end up with two scout files at some point. If there's only video in one place or there's no video at all, then I'm probably just going to use one scout file, and not everything that is in that scout file is going to have a timestamp that makes sense, and that's okay.
Yeah, I would use just open two tabs and scout them on different files, particularly if you have different video. It's a lot easier to add those files together. So like if the coach is like, hey, I want passing numbers from today, great. You got one file, it's all good. But then they're like, oh, I want passing numbers from just the serving pass part of practice. That becomes a little bit more difficult depending on how you have it set up and what your spreadsheets do. So I don't know if Eduardo addressed this or not. I can't remember about, like, sometimes you have different drills, or maybe he's going to address it the next boot camp. It's like, I like to have each drill as its own set, and therefore I can run stats on that. But then a lot of spreadsheets aren't formatted that way, so you might want another file. So just in general, if you're going to go two courts, I would use multiple scout files, just two different tabs. And then if you go from like court 1 to court 2 and back to court 1, just leave the other one open and then sync the video. Keep the videos running. Even if you're not on court 1 at all, there's blank video. Just keep the video running the whole time during your practice. And the file will chop up the video and get out the dead time. Don't worry about saving 1 gig of space because you want to stop it in between drills and you moved over to court 2 because everybody's sweaty and somebody's cleaning it up or something like that.
And just real quick, Jesse mentioned it and want to follow up. You can have multiple matches open in multiple tabs. Remember the keyboard shortcuts where you can command click and things will open in a separate tab? I can take this 1125 practice, command click, and it opens up here in this new tab. And then I can take my practice template, just as an example, open it up here. And then let me just rearrange my tab so those two are next to each other. And then I can skip. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's command 6 and command 7 to bounce back and forth between those two.
Eduardo, you're sharing the wrong screen, it looks like.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Apologies. Let me show you that again. You would think I would remember after having done it 7 other times today. So sorry, here. So if I'm in matches and I go to my practice season, I can open up this by command clicking on it. It opens in a new tab, and then I can open up this current one, and then I can skip back and forth between those two tabs, and I can code both of those courts in separate files if they're being played in such a way that allows you to do that. If things are overlapping, don't make your life harder than it needs to be. I'm going to take Timmy's question, and then I'm going to close it down after that, just to be respectful of time, since we said we were going to be on for 90 minutes. If you had a question and we weren't able to get to it, please email me, and I will make time to get an answer to you about that question. If you want to stick around and ask questions, because you absolutely positively got to get it out of you right now, then please, by all means, stick around. I'm happy to stay online for a little while longer and answer personal questions. But if you got to go for it. With that, Timmy, what do you got?
Yeah, thank you for doing this, guys. And I can ask this offline since we are past 12:30, if that's preferred.
Go for it.
Cool. So every staff has different workflows, and I really appreciate the commentary on best practices as we kind of navigate, our different use cases with trying to figure out cumulative stats. So throughout the year, we have this monster Google sheet that is just cumbersome and made a billion years ago, but it works. And we're having a difficult time getting away from that for our cumulative stats. Like, we manually have a manager input it. And my question is, it's easy for me to input match stats because they're built in. So even if I take the DVW files, clean it, like, those are all in-house. But if we're not coding live in practice, then we have to retroactively code practice to get those into a DVW file and then get into spreadsheets or into VolleyStation spreadsheets. What's the best way, fastest way to have stats input if they were taken by hand? So I know this sounds really ridiculous, but if we have a manager that is just doing passing because I'm running a drill, or other coaches running a drill, maybe we have a manager that's hand statting, just serve receive. How can we put serve receive into a DVW file that can be integrated into, like, practice files? I don't know if any of that made sense.
It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I think if I'm understanding what you're talking about, I'd be thinking about, if you don't want to attach it to video, then, just being able to enter lines of code. So let me go back here. Nope. I did it again. There it is. So if I'm just, like, taking stats off of a piece of paper, then I'm looking at, like, number 10's receptions. I can just go, like, number 10, I could go 10R plus, 10R minus, 10R pound, and just, like, basically reading off of a line, from whatever paper and pencil stats you're taking, and just do that. See, it has no lineup. Great. I could be doing this, and just really quickly entering stuff like that, and then you'll be able to pull that out of worksheets, as long as you don't need it to be, like, synced to video or anything. I think that's a pretty easy way of doing it, so that it becomes available to you in stats, or in spreadsheets, I should say. The other thing you could potentially do is just have you could have a sheet. You could have a sheet that was just like player reception. Like, let's just say, like, just for the sake of keeping things simple right now, and I wanted to do 10, and this is just counting. They received the ball 4 times, they attacked 12 times, something like that. I could build a sheet like this and then add a tab to it. And this tab then would be referencing these cells from the sheet previous and making calculations on them. And so then I could take like, if I wanted to know how many receptions they had or how many perfect receptions, things like that, I could build out one tab of a sheet where I'm just hand entering this data, but the second tab of that sheet would then be a VolleyStation version of stats based on that. The downside of that is that you're not going to have a scout file to be able to analyze that from, but it would be one way of getting at that problem.
Makes sense. And thank you. And I know it's a really convoluted question. Appreciate you tackling that.
All right, cool. Well then, thanks to all of you for attending. Really appreciate y'all being here. Really appreciate you being VolleyStation Pro users. Reminder, you can reach out to us with questions, comments, issues. As Jesse said before, we will do our best to get back to you. We know it's a super busy time for you as you're getting ready for the season. Hope to see as many of you as possible back again on Friday. If anything comes up between now and then, you know where to find us. So thanks, everybody.